Hey, what's up, everyone? Ralph here. So today we're living in very difficult times. The cost of living has increased exponentially, causing everyone to have to work exponentially harder just to get by. I see videos on social media where people are sharing the dissatisfaction with having to work so hard only to see no results, and that's understandable, right? Because especially if you're someone that's looking to build wealth, it sucks to work so hard and not to see the results that you're looking for. But the reality is that working hard alone isn't enough to build wealth anymore, right? So in this video, we're going to talk about it, right? We're going to talk about the concept of wealth and like what factors you need in order to build wealth. So let's talk about hard work. Like, let's be honest, like everyone feels they work hard, right? Everybody works hard, but at least feels like they work hard, whether that's through physical labor or whether that's through mental labor, right? Everyone feels like they're working very hard, and it's tough because when you're working that hard, you hope to like expect to see some results, but in reality, that's not enough anymore. You have to figure out different ways, and there's a reason why, right? The body, you have limitations, right? As an individual, like you get tired. You can only work so much. You can only exhaust so much energy before it gets to a point where you're exhausted and you're tired, right? And there's only 24 hours in a day. So if you're someone that's working physical labor, man, there's only so much energy that you could exhaust, and before it gets to a point where you say, all right, I'm done, right? And if you're working, if you're not working that really physical labor, then you're mentally exhausted. And everybody gets to a point where they just, regardless of whether you're thinking somebody's working hard or not, it gets to a point where you're either physically or mentally exhausted. So it gets to a point where you have to say, all right, you know what, working hard is just not enough. So what's some of the factors that you have to really understand when it comes to trying to build wealth, where it gets to a point where you're like, you know what, working hard alone is just not enough. Like, what's some of the factors that you have to also couple with the hard work? So the first one is financial literacy, right? Education, right? You have to really educate yourself and build up that financial literacy, whether you're reading books, watching videos, right? And I understand a lot of people talk about how, oh man, I wish they would have taught like financial literacy in school. Like, why didn't they teach us this? Guess what? They did, right? Get over it. Like, they're not, if you're, regardless of how age you are, they didn't teach you that, and they're still not teaching that. But what you do have access to is information. Like, whether you're going on the internet or you're buying books online, all you gotta do is go on Amazon and buy books. There's so much information in books, right? What I do when it comes to reading books is I'll either when I'm home and I'll read my books. I got a bunch of books that I read. Or if I'm at the gym, instead of like listening to music while I'm working out, I'll listen to an audiobook. That's all I'm doing. Like, I barely listen to music. It's either reading audiobooks or listening to audiobooks, or I'm reading the books at home. So these are the ways that I try to expound on my information and try to learn new skills and develop. You could be doing the same thing. That's where you develop your financial literacy, watching the videos or reading a book. Second, solving problems, right? If you're gonna make some money, right? If you're gonna build wealth, especially if you're someone that has a business, right? You have to learn how to solve problems, right? Like, fill a need, right? If you look at all the businesses out there that are making money, that are building wealth, all they do is solve people's problems, and it's hard too. It's something I've even learned myself, right? The more people that you help, the richer you become. And it's hard, especially if you're depending on your financial situation. If you're someone that's struggling financially, it's easy to think about money. Like, okay, how can I make money, right? But that's the wrong reason to do it, right? Because what you're doing is chasing the money, right? What you should be doing is chasing problems, chasing solutions for people. And one thing I've learned is that, and I've read, and from books that I've read, is like, don't think about the money, right? Even though that's hard to do, don't think about money. Think about helping people, and the money will follow, right? Let me repeat that. Like, don't think about the money, right? Think about helping people, and then the money will follow. And it's such a hard thing to do, because this is something I struggle with myself. Like, even when I'm creating content, like, oh yeah, Ralph, like, stop thinking about the money. Like, think about how this video you're gonna do is gonna help that person that's watching. And once you do that, then everything else will follow, right? You wanna make sure you're helping people, and that's how you really grow and really build wealth out of time. Especially if someone that has a business, like, or a side hustle. Think about if you're someone that's trying to make money, trying to build wealth, think about the people that you can help. Stop thinking about the money and think about all the solutions you can provide for people that have problems, right? Next, become a producer, right? Now, you got to learn, like, instead of we live in a society where everyone is a consumer, right? Like, people consume debt. People buy certain things and making more debt. You want to figure out how to be a producer, produce goods, produce value for people. Like, be a producer where people have value, and it's an important way to build wealth. Instead of, like, if you're someone that's on YouTube, right? I try to be someone that, instead of like consuming so much content on YouTube, I try to produce the videos, right? And it's kind of contradictory because here you are actually consuming that content, but eventually you want to get to a point where you're the one producing that content, right? And you want to make sure you're producing more than you consume. That's something that's important. If you're someone that's going to build wealth, then making sure you produce is very important. All right, next, importance of time, right? Time is one of your most important assets, okay? Now, for me, I remember when back then when I got out of corporate America, I wanted to get into something that I was more excited about, like personal training. Right? Personal training is something I love. I like to work out, and it was something where I can have control over my own business. But a year into personal training, I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. And the big reason was because there was two ways that I could increase my income. I was either going to increase the prices of my sessions, which would be a burden to my clients, or I could train more clients, right? And there's only so many hours in a day. So therefore you're tapped out. So eventually I got to a point where I was like, you know what, this is not going to work. I got to find a different way. And that's when I moved over to the internet, started affiliate marketing, where there's, billions of people on the internet, and my reach is much more larger than, personal training, where my reach is limited to the people that's around me locally. So I understood that, personal training wasn't going to work long term, and then I shifted over to the internet, where there was a vast amount more people where I could reach and impact when it comes to helping them out. So it's just, you got to understand leveraging, make sure that instead of leveraging the time, you got to make sure that time is important, and understand that, like, hey, you can only do so much in a day. So you got to find a way to leverage things to make more money long term. Next, investing, right? If you're going to make money, build wealth, then you obviously need to invest in assets, right? Whether it's real estate, a business, stocks, anything that generates income. You got to be investing in things that's going to generate income over time. And that's the most important. Whatever it is, whether you're into real estate, whether you're into businesses, whether into stocks, whatever avenue that you can, I would invest in all of them. Like, at least build a portfolio where you have a piece of all of them, and make sure you're investing instead of investing in assets instead of liabilities. Next, you want to make sure you're networking, right? Leveraging relationships. This is very important. It's something that I'm trying to do, or I'm trying to become better at, is make sure that you can network with other people, because there's sometimes just weaknesses that you have that others have strength in, and you want to make sure that you're building a network of people that can help you grow your business or grow your wealth over time. So that's something that I want to try to get into and make sure that I'm getting better when it comes to networking. And lastly is the mindset, right? In order to build wealth, you have to believe that you can build wealth. You have to believe that you can, right? You have to make sure that you say, all right, if I'm going to build wealth, I first have to believe it, right? Because your beliefs dictate your actions, right? If you're someone that doesn't believe that you can build wealth, then you won't. Right, so you have to really have to start with that mindset, right? And I understand that a lot of people have been dealt a bad hand, right? But it's how you react to that hand that you're dealt that's going to decide how successful you become in the future, right? Because we've all had different circumstances, and it's easy to become a victim and say, oh man, yeah, I was struggling, I didn't have this around me, I didn't have any, I grew up poor. True, like, these are all factors, but you control how you move going forward, right? It's going to be difficult. Some people have it easier than others, but you know what? It doesn't matter. You have to find a way. You have to have the mindset that says, I can overcome these obstacles, and I'm gonna get it done no matter what, right? As long as you're physically able, you're not dealing with any health ailments, you can find a way. So yeah, so those are my thoughts when it comes to working hard, because we have to understand that working hard alone is not enough. Many people work hard, and you have to find different ways. You gotta not only work hard, but you gotta work smart, and you have to figure out how to leverage these things in order to do it, right? And that's something that you have to learn through experience, through education, and go through the process and make mistakes, and once you do that, you'll eventually figure out. It eventually comes to you, but you gotta get busy, you gotta get active, right? So yeah, those are my thoughts. If you got any comments or questions, make sure you leave it down below. Hit the like button, share. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. All right, so guys, take care and have a good one. Later.